Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It started with a tremor in Finn's world's foundations, from his arrival at the Forrester mansion to his marriage to Steffi Forrester. Dr. John Finn Finnegan had always believed in the promise of healing as a doctor, as a husband, as a father. He was of the opinion that his main goal was to keep his loved ones safe. But the announcement came like a thunderclap. Finn would be leaving Los Angeles. He would be stepping away from his practice, stepping away from Steffi, stepping away from the Forrester Logan Spencer web that had both nurtured and tortured him. Every connection, every love and every regret became crystal clear as the reality dawned. Finn sensed a split between Steffi and him in the days leading up to his announcement. She had become distant, but not in the quiet way that distance does, but rather in the manner in which a shutter slowly closes when you are not looking. She still deeply adores him, but the weight of everything they had been through, the shooter in the alley, the kidnapping, betrayals and secrets, had worn her down, and Finn felt it. He saw it in her eyes the morning she touched his hand and pulled away. He felt it in the late-night conversations that became fewer and shorter. Steffi's whispered apologies when she thought he was sleeping made it clear to him, nor did the professional front offer much solace. Finn's work at Forrester Creations' medical unit had become more than just his scrub coat and stethoscope. It had become his anchor. Yet the anchor was now heavy, dragging him into depths of guilt. He saved a patient who then turned around and made his life miserable. He operated on someone while Steffi waited with his heart in his throat, and he chose to treat the friend of his own daughter instead of going to Steffi when she asked for him. All these moments piled up, unseen by Finn, until one quiet evening when he realized the scrub room smelled faintly of antiseptic and regret. Then came the incident that lit the fuse for his departure. Luna Nozawa, his daughter, his child, acted out in a way that frightened everyone, including Finn, the betrayal of trust, the near-fatal accident, the sense that his dual role as father and doctor were colliding disastrously. This shook him. He knew she was correct when Steffi confronted him, asking, "How can I trust you when your loyalties are split?" He cherished Steffi. He loved their children. He loved being a doctor, but he also loved Luna, and somewhere along the way, the lines blurred when Finn entered Steffi's bedroom one fateful morning to find the house still. The crescendo occurred. The coffee was still cold on the table because the kids had left for school. He sat down opposite Steffi. The rims of her eyes were red. He grasped her hand. He said, "Steffi, I need to talk to you." She sighed. I know they both knew what was coming, though neither wanted to say it aloud. Finn had signed the paper that morning. He was resigning from the medical board in Los Angeles, shutting down his private practice and handing in his letter of resignation at the hospital. He would be leaving with Luna temporarily, he said, to start fresh somewhere, far away, and though he said temporarily, neither of them believed it would truly be temporary. His remarks broke Steffi's heart. Is this about Luna? Finn didn't answer right away. He went to sleep. It's about me. I've forgotten who I am. I lost sight of what I wanted us to be. I wanted to save everybody. You, the kids, Luna, my patients, but I ended up risking all of it. I don't want to lose you. I'm taking a step back now. I'm going home to get better. Both of us require healing. The tears came. Steffi pressed her forehead to his. She whispered, "I love you, but I'm afraid once you leave, everything changes." He said, "I know everything is going to change. I just don't want to see it crumble before I leave." They parted that day, not with anger, but with a sadness so profound it filled the room. Finn walked out of the mansion, glanced once at the Forrester sign, the Logan blazon, the legacy of his in-laws. Then he paused. He was aware that this was not only a way out of one life, but also of their dream in the weeks that followed. The canvas of friendship, rivalry and loyalty shifted around them while Finn's bags sat packed by the front door. Steffi attempted to maintain her composure by tending to the children, managing the household and attempting to preserve her marriage. The kids, innocent and fearful, asked questions. Why is Daddy not sleeping in our bed anymore? Is Daddy going away forever? Finn tried to answer just for a while, but the look in his eyes said the rest, maybe forever. In the meantime, Finn's departure had an effect. His departure from the hospital meant his colleagues had to pick up the slack. His absence as a husband meant Steffi leaned on her brother Thomas, her longtime friend Hope, even her father Ridge and mother-in-law, Brooke. The Spencer family erupted when Liam heard Finn had resigned and expressed concern for Steffi. He didn't want to get involved, but he couldn't help but step in. Bill Spencer sensed an opportunity, subtle, almost harmless, to remind Steffi that the world didn't need a missing husband to hold it together. The Forster patriarchs sensed instability. Taylor and Ridge worried for their daughter. The ripple effects were everywhere. Finn's last night in town remains etched in memory. He invited Steffi, Luna, the kids and his mother Lee, to a private dinner on the veranda of the Forrester Beach house, where lanterns were swaying, the ocean breeze was blowing and the scent of summer was starting to fade. He stood and made a speech nobody expected, with a raw voice. He began, "Thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for loving me even in the dark. Steffi, you gave me a home, the kids. You gave me purpose. Luna, you gave me hope, to the Forresters and the Logans and the Spencers. You gave me family." He stopped. The children looked wide-eyed. Steffi glanced at him, eyes glistening. "I tried to save everything, but I won't be able to save this with you, at least not in this way. I'm leaving to find the man I lost. I'm leaving to give you the husband you deserve, one who isn't in the hospital at midnight, who isn't hugging his daughter when you need him, who isn't torn in two the next morning." The front door closed. Finn walked out into the driveway, his bags in his hand, Luna by his side, their expression fixed on the porch, tears streaming. The kids hugged their dad goodbye. Pure, raw, indescribable. We held Finn for a moment. She whispered, "Be safe. Be you." And then he drove away. The Forrester mansion faded behind him. The beach breeze whispered farewell. In the aftermath, Steffi struggled. She held the house together, but the silence of Finn's absence echoed. She found solace in the kids, in her daughter, Kelly's laughter, in Hayes' wild energy. But at night, the bed felt cavernous, the absence palpable. She questioned her decision. Did she push him away? Could she have stopped him? Was this truly the fresh start he needed, or the parting blow they couldn't recover from? For his part, Finn arrived in a small town by the Pacific Northwest, different coast, different pace. He reopened a small clinic, volunteered at a community hospital, and spent time with Luna, letting her heal from whatever darkness had consumed her. He pored through medical journals, not for prestige, but for purpose. He cooked breakfast for his daughter. He wrote a letter to Steffi, "One day, I hope our paths will cross again. Until then, I love you. I will be the man you believed I could be." He never sent it over time. The show picked up the threats. Steffi gaining strength, leaned on Ridge and Taylor. Liam's storyline intersected with Steffi's, not romantically at first, but in deep, platonic support. Bill sought forgiveness. Luna, under Finn's guidance, slowly found redemption. The Forrester Logan Spencer world shifted as all things do. Several months later, Finn returned for one final moment. He walked back into the Forrester mansion unannounced. Steffi was in the kitchen making muffins with Kelly. She saw him in the doorway. Time stood still. The kids exploded with happiness. The world held its breath. They held hands. But it wasn't the dramatic, cinematic reunion. There was no grand wedding, no vows renewed. He stayed a weekend. He held Steffi at midnight and whispered, "I'm okay." She said, "I always believed you were," as she held him. And then he left again, not gone, but away. Person changed in the end. Finn's storyline resolved, not with a curtain call wedding or a villainous exit, but with a quiet, sad, hopeful step into another life. He left the show's core cast, but he left a legacy, a doctor who saved more patients than he treated, a husband who cared beyond words, a father who finally chose his children, and a man who had the courage to leave so that others could enter their own stories. And somewhere in Los Angeles, the Forster Logan Spencer circle turned a corner. The mansion still rang with laughter and tears. Steffi still looked at the sea when Finn's bags left the driveway. Hayes continued to inquire, "When is Daddy returning?" Steffi was still embraced by Kelly at night. The show carried on, and maybe, just maybe, Finn, in his new life, carried the hope of one day returning, but for now, his story was complete. Months passed, but the emotional ripple left by Finn's departure refused to fade. It wasn't just a husband leaving home or a doctor resigning from the hospital. It was as though the steady heartbeat of Steffi's world had been abruptly silenced each day she walked through the Forrester mansion's halls and caught faint echoes of laughter, of whispered I love yous, of the life they'd built that now felt like it belonged to someone else. Steffi had lost her twin sister, Phoebe, been betrayed by Liam, been in a motorcycle accident that nearly killed her, and been battling an addiction to painkillers. Before this, however, was different. This was a living loss, because Finn was still around healing and assisting others while she was still surrounded by reminders of him. The smell of his aftershave lingered in the bedroom. His stethoscope, forgotten on the dresser, mocked her every morning. She couldn't throw it away, not when part of her still believed he'd walk through the door any minute. Ridge and Taylor visited often, pretending not to hover. Ridge brought her lunch from El Giardino, while Taylor offered silent company sitting beside her daughter as they watched the waves roll in from the veranda one evening. As the sun bled orange across the Pacific, Taylor finally spoke what everyone else was afraid to say, Steffi. Do you think Finn will come back? Steffi's lips shook. I don't know, Mom. He said he needed to heal. Maybe he'll realize what he's missing and come home. Or perhaps I drove him away. Taylor gave her daughter a firm grip. You didn't drive him away, sweetheart, to settle down. You both required some space. Love doesn't always mean holding on. Sometimes it means letting the other person breathe. Steffi wiped her eyes and didn't say anything. Deep down, she knew her mother was right, but logic couldn't fill the void of Finn's absence or the constant haunting question, what if he never comes back? In the meantime, life in Los Angeles continued to move at an alarming rate. Logan had her own turmoil brewing with Liam, and Thomas found himself back in old patterns of obsession. Once more, Brooke and Ridge were on the verge of breaking up, but Steffi's story felt detached from the rest, as though she existed in a parallel universe, one where time slowed and memory ruled still. She threw herself into work. She had something to hold on to. When Ridge and Eric ran Forrester Creations, she did, however, find herself thinking of Finn even in the midst of fashion launches and boardroom meetings. She imagined him in a peaceful coastal town with his sleeves rolled up, saving lives and repairing hearts far away from the chaos that had nearly destroyed theirs. And in truth, that's exactly what he was doing. Finn rebuilt his life in a small clinic outside of Portland, Oregon. Gone were the celebrity clients and the glossy hospital corridors. His days were long but simple, treating fishermen with sunburned small-town families with coughs and broken bones. He rented a modest cottage overlooking a bay where the sound of gulls replaced the hum of LA traffic. Luna stayed with him for a clinic, finding purpose again after months of personal turmoil for Finn. The quiet was both a balm and a curse. At night, he'd sit by the fire, staring at the surf, replaying every moment with Steffi, the alley where he'd been almost killed, the way she cried when he woke from that coma, the promises they'd made, which at the time seemed impossible to break, but love he had learned wasn't always about grand rescues or heroic vows. Sometimes love required distance, even sacrifice. Still, a glimmer of hope would flicker in his chest whenever his phone buzzed. Maybe it's her. Sometimes it was Steffi sent messages short, cautious, full of longing but restrained. Kids miss you today. Hayes asked about your pancakes. Kelly got an A on her project. She wanted you to see it. Hope you're doing okay. I miss your laugh. He'd stare at the words for hours before replying. Tell them, Daddy's proud. You're doing great. Steffi, I miss you too, but neither dared to say the thing that hovered between them. Come home. The writers of The Bold and the Beautiful could have chosen to make his exit final, a clean break, an ending sealed by tragedy. Yet the producers left threads dangling intentionally, as if the universe itself refused to close Finn's chapter. Rumors in the fictional law began to swirl that Finn had been spotted visiting medical research conferences, that he was heading up a trauma unit in San Francisco, that he was conducting a secret study into new neurological treatments. Each whisper kept the Forrester family and fans of the show guessing, was Finn really gone for good? Back at Forrester Creations, Steffi received an unexpected visitor one afternoon. Lee Finnegan, Finn's adoptive mother. Lee carried herself with the same precision she used in the operating room, always the stoic surgeon. However, that day her expression was unusually soft. "Steffi," Lee began, "I wanted you to know Finn's doing well. He is in charge of a research project helping veterans. He's found peace." I think Steffi's eyes sparkled. "Peace without us?" Lee hesitated, then nodded. "For now, Steffi, he still loves you, though he will always do. He just needs to believe he deserves that love again." That night, Steffi lay awake replaying Lee's words. She realized she'd been living half a life, surviving, but not truly living. She missed Finn's touch, his laughter, the way he grounded her chaos, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something still tethered them, even across hundreds of miles. Meanwhile, in Oregon, Finn began to sense the same pull. One stormy evening, he found himself scrolling through old family photos. Steffi laughing on the beach, Kelly's toothless grin, baby Hayes sleeping on his chest. A wave of emotion hit him so hard he had to sit down. He realized that all his healing, all his searching, meant nothing without them. Healing wasn't just solitude, it was reconciliation. Finn wrote a letter the following morning, not an email, but a handwritten letter, written in his meticulous script. "Duffy, I don't know if I'm ready to come home, but I need you to know I never stopped loving you. Every day I think about what we built and what we lost. I thought leaving was the answer. Maybe it was for a while, but every patient I save reminds me of what I left unfinished with us. If I ever return, it'll be because I finally believe I can be the man you need. Until then, hold on to the love that still connects us, because I do always." Finn, he sealed it, addressed it to Malibu, and dropped it in the post. But fate had other plans. The letter arrived weeks later, just as a new crisis rocked Forrester Creations. Eric Forrester's health had declined again, and Steffi found herself shouldering enormous responsibility. She barely slept, juggling her father's care, the company, and the kids. When she finally noticed the envelope in her mail pile, she almost didn't open it. When she did, Finn's handwriting stopped her breath. Reading those words shattered something inside her, not in pain, but in realization. She didn't want to wait anymore. She wanted him back. Days later, Steffi booked a flight to Oregon without telling anyone. She found the small coastal town after hours of driving through fog and pine-lined roads. The clinic was small, white-walled, humble, so unlike the high-tech hospital she was used to. Through the window, she saw him, Finn, in his white coat, comforting a patient. His smile was gentle, his presence steady. He hadn't changed. Rather, he had strengthened and become more composed when their eyes met. It was as though time folded in on itself. The world's hum faded as the outside air became still. He froze mid-sentence, stunned. Then he stepped outside Steffi. His voice was shaking. She was struggling to breathe. "I received your letter." He exhaled, relief and disbelief colliding. "I wasn't sure if you would read it." "I did." She whispered, "I'm done. Pretending to be able to move on now. Finn, you are my home, always have been." Finn stepped closer, eyes wet. "Steffi, I." Before he could finish, she kissed him. It wasn't dramatic or desperate. It was quiet, long, full of everything they'd both been afraid to say. The years of pain, distance, and sacrifice melted away in that single embrace. That night, they talked for hours on the porch, rain pattering softly around them. Finn explained everything: the guilt, the burnout, the need to rediscover his purpose. Steffi confessed her own doubts, her loneliness, the fear that he'd forgotten her when dawn broke. They knew what had to happen. Finn couldn't return to Los Angeles immediately. His new project and commitments mattered deeply, but they could rebuild slowly. Weekends together, visits with the kids, calls that became daily again. Love was capable of developing and could not vanish. The next few months brought a bittersweet but hopeful rhythm. Steffi divided her time between Malibu and Oregon. The kids adored the simpler life by the sea, fishing with Finn, roasting marshmallows, laughing freely, without paparazzi or Forrester drama. Slowly, Finn began to believe that maybe the life he'd been chasing was always meant to include both worlds: medicine and family, solitude and love. Back in LA, word spread of Steffi's renewed glow. Rich noticed, so did Hope, Liam, and Brooke. When the news finally broke that Steffi and Finn were working on reconciling long distance, the reactions were mixed: admiration, doubt, even jealousy, but Steffi didn't care. For the first time in years, she was at peace, and though Tanner Novlan's official exit from The Bold and the Beautiful shocked fans, his final scenes as Finn became some of the show's most memorable. The producers wrote one final montage, Finn walking along the Oregon shore at sunrise. Phone in hand, Steffi's voice, reading his letter over soft music. He looked out at the horizon and whispered, "This isn't goodbye, it's just a new beginning." The screen faded to black. Fans flooded social media with tributes. #ThankYou. Tanner trended worldwide. A love story that did not end in betrayal or tragedy, but rather in growth, was celebrated by viewers, a rarity in soap opera history, and though the storyline officially closed, a single subtle scene in the final week left hope alive. Steffi receiving a mysterious text months later from an unknown source, "Tell the kids, I'm coming home soon." Jeff, her smile said it all.